GBETV. Yes, sir!
Good evening. Welcome to the Sharmin Prince Show on GBETV, where we know that progress is a must. And I'm your host, Sharmin Prince. First, I have to say that you saw 2 weeks of repeated shows, or old shows, and that was due to, unforeseen circumstances. Things got in the way of us filming new shows. And I hope that you called someone, invited someone to see those shows, and those of you that are new to the Sharmin Prince Show, you were able to see some former, older shows. So I hope you enjoyed it. I pray you had a great weekend and you're looking forward to a better week ahead. I want to wish any one of you that have celebrated your birthday in the past 3 weeks, because we were not on air, so in the past 3 weeks, if you celebrated your birthday, happy birthday. I celebrated my birthday at the end of last month also, so anyone that was born in October is a star. You got a special blessing on you. Yes, so if you celebrated your birthday, happy birthday. If you're celebrating an anniversary, happy anniversary. If you lost a loved one, our condolences go out to you and your family. And I also want to send condolences to 3 people that I saw in the news. To the family of Clement Cockfield, the police officer that died over the river. Condolences to that family. Condolences to Kessia Branch family, the school teacher that lost her life. And to Hafiz Douglas, the peacemaker in North Rumville that lost his life, trying to make peace. On behalf of the Sharmin Prince Show and GBETV, we'd like to send out our condolences to those families. And to you, despite I didn't mention your name, if you lost a loved one, condolences. And just remember that grieving is a process. Sometimes it takes someone a year, a couple of months, even a couple of years to grieve, and it's a process that has to be embraced. So we have this, our favorite phrase in Guyana is get over it. If you're listening to this show, I want to encourage you to, when you hear that phrase, stop the person. And if you say it, you like to tell people to get over it, I want to encourage you to stop it, because when we tell people get over it, you don't know what people are feeling, you don't know what they're experiencing, and all of us are individuals. And so someone may lose a loved one and they can get over it, and the other person, it may take them 3 to 5 years to get over it, because there are different stages of grieving. So promise me that you will become one of the people that would not tell others to get over it. And when you hear people say that, you can ask them, why are you saying that? Why are you telling them to get over it? Because I think it's a phrase that we use just not to get deeply into stuff. And so we just say, look, get over that, and without thinking about the other person's feelings and what they may be experiencing at that moment. So let's make an agreement that we will not use that phrase. We will not tell people to get over it, because we are not in that person's shoes. Even with illnesses and trauma, it's a phrase that we love to use, and I want to encourage you tonight to stop using that phrase. Stop telling people to get over it, because sometimes you really don't know what that person is experiencing. As opposed to saying get over it, you could ask them, how are you handling this? How are you feeling about this? What can I do to support you through this? Because that's important. Instead of telling them to get over it and move on, lend your support. Ask them how you can support them. Ask them how can you help. Even ask them how they're feeling. How are you handling it? How are you handling the death of whomever, your loved one, your friend? How are you coping with it? So let's start showing more support and love to the people that are in our circle, and not use the phrase get over it. That was like organic. I didn't plan that. So that's my encouragement to you. And I want to share a quote that I read the other day with you. It's by Helen Keller. Helen Keller was a blind woman, and she said that the only thing worse than being blind is having sight without vision. And ever so often on the show, I'll share a quote with you that is profound and can be transformative and really empowering to us if we really dissect it. So the quote is from someone who has been blind all their lives, that the worst thing other than being blind is to have sight without vision. And it's a profound quote, because ever so often we have sight but we don't have vision. And I want to ask you, what is the vision that you have for yourself? Do you have both sight and vision, or you have one and not the other? Think about that for a moment. Think about that quote. It's so deep. And we can have an entire show just talking about that quote. And it makes you think. It makes you ask yourself some questions. What's my vision for myself? What's my vision for the next 2 years? Not even the next 2 years. What's my vision for the next year or the next 6 months? So think about what Helen Keller says, that in order for you to have sight, you should have vision. The both are, it's like the hand and glove, and they correlate and it's intertwined, because you can have the sight you're seeing, but where is the vision? And in our lives, we all need to have a plan. And most times our visions began in childhood. But life happens and we forget the visions that we had as children. So think about, you may be asking yourself, what are you talking about vision? What's your vision for your life? What's your goal? Where do you see yourself? And if you don't have it right now, think about, let's go back to childhood. When you were a child, what you dreamed of. You know, we all had these dream careers. And, you know, you would sit with your friend and say, when I grow up, I am going to be. Do you remember that? That was your childhood vision for yourself. Now, Were you able to fulfill it? Did it come through? And if not, it's never too late. It's never too late to fulfill your vision for yourself. I was reading, I think, an article, and I read that a man that was 98 years old always wanted to get his GED, and he went and he got it. And I think 2 years ago, an 80-something-year-old woman wanted a degree, and she went and she got it. Whatever that dream was for you, it's not too late. So you can fulfill your vision in your generation and feel that sense of accomplishment. Do not have sight without vision. The two needs to go together, and you can do it. Despite who may say what, you can do it. Embrace whatever that childhood dream was, and let that vision come to fruition in your adulthood. And think about it. Think about 98 years old and you thinking about going and get a GED when you're about to walk into your sunset, or you're already in your sunset, and it's just for you to relax and enjoy life, the end of your life. But you decide that I want to fulfill this dream. I had this dream, or I had this vision for myself to obtain my GED. You know, GED is like a high school diploma, like CXC. And so he fulfilled it. What it is that you dreamed of that you haven't fulfilled? And what is preventing you from fulfilling it? Do you think it's too late? It's never too late to follow your dreams. Do you think you don't have the means? Break that goal down into pieces and you can achieve it. You could break a goal or something in small chunks. So you make small goals to attain the bigger goal. Okay? And it could be done.
Great.
Diana sending shout out all the way from Brooklyn to Guyana.
Brooklyn Massive sending
Greetings to Georgetown, Guyana.
happy birthday, Uncle Wayne.
Those were the greetings for this week. Remember to tell your relatives about those greetings so that one day you can be watching the show and your relatives here in New York is sending you a shout out. Also, for the Christmas holiday, we have a raffle. And to enter the raffle is pretty simple. You send us your name and your telephone number to GBETVinfo@gmail.com. Again, the email is GBETVinfo@gmail.com. And all you do is send us your name and your telephone number, and we will be giving away a smart TV on Christmas Day. During the show, I will pick the name on camera and announce the winner, and then you'll be able to pick up the television in Guyana. Well, you can pick it up on Christmas Day because the show will be aired on Christmas Day. So it would be a little late Christmas present for you, but nevertheless, you can pick up the television on Boxing Day, I think. Because by the time the show airs, it's going to be late. Or we may send you an email and tell you where to go and pick it up so you can have it in time for Christmas. Remember, tell your friends to enter to win the television. All they need to do is send us an email at GBETV info@gmail.com. GBETV info@gmail.com. Your name and your telephone number, and you have the opportunity to win a smart TV. So today I have a guest, attorney Rhonda Binder. Her parents are Guyanese, and a woman that has a vision for herself, for the diaspora, and for the world. And you will meet her after the commercial break. But back to our discussion in the beginning about, having a vision for yourself and ensuring that your dreams are fulfilled in your generation. I asked the question, what was your childhood dream? Do you remember dreaming as a child that one day you will be, or the favorite thing for kids is, I wish I can, and you fill in the blank. For me, I used to dream of being a doctor or a lawyer. I don't know if you remember, those of you, I'm dating myself, that years ago during, I think it's President Burnham era, when they had exchange students going to Cuba, every Sunday you can open the centerfold of the newspaper and you'll see all those people that are returning from Cuba, lawyers, doctors, whomever. And I used to read that every Sunday, and not wish, and tell myself that one day I'll be in the centerfold. What was your wish as a child? What was your vision as a child? Because we have the innocence and the we're truthful as children, so we had that desire to be something, and a lot of time that desire is a part of our purpose. That's for our next week's show. Be sure to tune in next week. But what was your vision for yourself? What did you dream of? What do you enjoy doing? What gives you pleasure when you do it? When you do it, you get a sense of satisfaction that nothing else gives to you. Is it working with children? Is it cooking? What it is, and whatever that thing is, how can you turn it into, make it your vision and see it come to fruition? What can you do? How can you break down that thing into 5 pieces? And if you can break it into 5 pieces, what would be the first step? Something simple that you can do tomorrow, or you can do right now. And then step number 2 can be something that is a little more complicated than step number 1. That might take a week or so. Might take you may have to do some research for step number 2. And then step number 3 should be more complicated than step number 1 and 2. And what would that be? Step number 4 might be something that you can attain next year or the year after. And then step number 5 is how you're gonna really walk into that vision. So here is a task. get a pen and a paper and write what your vision was as a child and what your vision is now. Compare it. Is there a contrast or are the two closely related? But you decide. And then write those 5 steps. Step number 1, something that you can do right now. Step number 2, something that you can do next week or tomorrow. That is not too complicated. And then step 3, you may need 10 steps. Because you may need to take 5 baby steps and then something a little major. But it doesn't matter. Providing you're working towards it and you're ensuring that you accomplish it, that's all you need. And when you finish, maybe put it on the fridge with a sticker or put it in a notebook or something where you can go to it every day. And look at the goals, and you know, sometimes you have goal number 1. This is my first step to get to the end of this. But the first step, while you're reading it, you may have another 5 things that come in, that surfaces that you need to do. So break it down and let's go to a commercial break. When we come back, you will reach my guest, attorney Rhonda Binder.
Next Gen Car Rentals. For reliable, clean, fuel-efficient and well-maintained cars, choose Next Gen Car Rentals. Telephone 231-8963 or like us on Facebook. Next Gen Car Rentals, taking you to the next level.
GBETV. Yes, sir!
Welcome back to the Sharmin Prince Show, and I'm your host, Sharmin Prince. As promised, I have my guest here. To my left is my guest, Rhonda Binder. Rhonda is one of the most serene people I've met, and I'm honored to have her on the Sharmin Prince Show. Welcome, Rhonda.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here with you.
Thank you. Now, Rhonda, our viewers don't know who you are. Can you tell the viewers who you are?
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here and to be able to share some of my background with you. I am a community activist, a lawyer, and I do a good amount of community work with specifically the Guyanese diaspora. Just last Sunday, we launched Guyanese Girls Rock, a mentoring program for high school girls, and I was lucky enough to serve on the 50th anniversary committee with Dr. Prince, where we launched a number of other activities around tying business connections, working with Eddie's senior home, and looking forward to so much more that we can do to bridge the ties between us here in the U.S. and in Guyana.
What are your ties to Guyana?
So I have, a lot of, most all of my family's from there, and I have a lot of family that's moving back now. And so the ties seem to be, as time goes on, actually going deeper, where they're, retiring from either the U.S. or Canada, and always asking us to come back and visit. And so I have a feeling that I'll be doing more. And then also through the committee, there's a lot of great work that we've been initiating that I think will have a longer-term relationship working with the government. In terms of my ties, my mom's from Berbice and my dad is from Wakenham.
Okay. So your parents are Guyanese?
Yes.
And you were born here?
I was.
Okay. And you grew up where?
I was born in the Bronx and grew up in Queens for the most part. But my dad traveled a lot. He was a preacher. And so we would make our way around the boroughs in the tri-state area, especially on the weekends.
So you were a PK?
Yes, PK.
I never knew that. Wow. So, Rhonda, how was it growing up with Guyanese parents and then as a PK?
Well, it's double trouble there, right? So you have already a very strong ethnic, conservative background, plus to be the preacher's kid, a little bit of pressure there. But I'm very grateful for that type of training. Of course, there's some things about the culture that I think, especially as a girl and as a woman, that can be modernized and updated, and that's one of the reasons why we're working with so many women's organizations here, like Guyanese Girls Rock. So that balancing the good with some of the more traditional was it was something definitely to navigate, and and it's still a work in progress, I believe, for a lot of those kids that have to manage both.
How were you able to navigate that?
I'm still, the journey continues. But I do think that because my family, other than my parents, didn't come until later, I actually grew up with more of an American upbringing initially, and then I learned so much more about how rich the culture is in Guyana as more of my family. It's sort of like the journey begins with a few of us, and then it kind of grew. The crew grew over time, and then there's also been a lot more Indian Americans coming to the U.S. and settling. So I got to learn even more about my culture as time went on, and I went on to college, and as their population grew, even going back even further. So it's been very interesting. It's a continuing learning process. And every time I, have the opportunity to go back to Guyana, I learn so much more. And they're changing too. So it's, it's a lot to keep up with.
So you mentioned college. What college did you attend? And how did you choose the career that you have?
So, I was always interested in exploring, going outside of what I knew. So I only applied to schools down south. And I was lucky to be accepted to Duke University. I love you're wearing our colors today. That's a good sign. And it was eye-opening, very different down south than it is in New York. And that's sort of how I became more of an activist. When I saw, so much about, talking about culture, about the Southern culture that's, talking about how it needs to modernize. And so we were, I became somewhat of an activist there, and we were able to change the policies on college campus, at the curriculum, and I started to take policy and law classes there. Eventually, I took the bar exam, sort of knew I would want to go down that road, but it wasn't until I worked at the White House when I left the North Carolina that I started to work with other attorneys, and I really was attracted to their work ethic. And that's what really made me go in that direction towards law a few years later.
So that wasn't like a childhood dream that I'm going to become a lawyer?
It was something that a profession that I very much respected, and I enjoyed the way that law teaches you how to learn so many different disciplines. And so it was, something that I never really even knew I could achieve as a child, to be honest. But I was very happy that I was accepted to Georgetown, and practiced law at a law firm for a number of years, still with a law firm, use the training all the time, but now working more on the policy and advocacy side. And I've recently also started a company and moving more towards entrepreneurial. But using that law degree has been great, and especially also as a woman, sometimes whether you have all the knowledge or not, it helps to have the extra letters behind your name so that you can make sure you get a seat at the table.
Okay. You mentioned as a woman how hard it is to be a female lawyer, a female professional, and a female advocate.
Well, the advocate part comes because it's so hard to be those other two things, right? So, I've worked in nonprofit. I was most recently director of a nonprofit. I've worked in, as I said, in the private sector. I've worked in the government, And I've now decided to start my own company because it is very hard for us. Until we have the numbers at the highest levels in the boardrooms, it's going to continue to be more difficult, I think, for women to achieve in those structures because there's a dominant culture that doesn't necessarily incorporate women, just even working women who have families. The structure itself is really it's a little bit skewed more towards accommodating the existing people who are in control of those organizations. And so I found that to be sometimes quite unfair and frustrating. And so what I've endeavored to do most recently is to create my own sort of environment with people that have the same values. But I can't say that those all the experiences as I've that have not been enriching, and I haven't learned. But what it's taught me is that there needs to be more advocacy for women's issues, which is why I'm involved with organizations like Positive Women United, where you spoke a few weeks ago, and Guyanese Girls Rock, because without us really joining forces and helping each other out, whether it's suicide awareness, domestic violence, whatever in the workplace, networking, that sort of thing, supporting other entrepreneurs that are women, I really think that's the only way we're going to make a difference. Because if you look back, this year I just heard that the pay difference actually widened. So women are making even less than men now for the same exact job. Mm-hmm. And so, there's been some progress I've seen in terms of policies, but I really would like to see more. New York recently made it illegal to show that different pay, to ask for your what you were getting paid when you're entering in a new position. I don't know if that hurts or helps, to be honest with you. But I'm very interested in making this world a lot more fair and equitable, not just for women, but for people of color and for immigrants and all of those LGBTQ. I mean, all of those mentally ill. That right now in the U.S. we have a lot happening with drug addiction. For so many of us that given a better chance, our entire society can progress better.
Let's take a break, and when we come back, we hear more from Rhonda.
GBETV. Yes, sir!
Next Gen Car Rentals. For reliable, clean, fuel-efficient and well-maintained cars, choose Next Gen Car Rentals. Telephone 231-8963 or like us on Facebook. Next Gen Car Rentals, taking you to the next level.
Welcome back to the Sharmin Prince Show. And I'm your host, Sharmin Prince. I'm here with my guest, Rhonda Bindo. Now, Rhonda, you've been the director of the Queens Business Improvement District. Now, when I read that, I was impressed because I attended community board meeting in District 16 in Brooklyn, and they have the Pitkin bid, but you were the director of the Queens bid. Oh, and I'm trying to differentiate. Pitkin bid was a section of Brooklyn. Queens bid, is it a section of Queens or the bid for the entire Queens area?
So it was the biggest bid in Queens,
okay,
but it was still for a section. We had over 400 businesses that we manage a radius of downtown Jamaica, Queens. And so we worked and sort of leading a lot of the other activities happening throughout all of the rest of the borough, to the point where we got a lot of recognition, and we were named the #1 neighborhood in New York by the Wall Street Journal and by Gothamist in 2016. And so it was always a dream of mine, even though I was working with cities previously with the U.S. Department of State all over the world. I came back a few years ago because I wanted to give back to my own neighborhood. And so that was a big achievement for us. We also were able to get the #1 award from the governor, and with that $10 million, we were able to close the digital divide finally in the neighborhood, where there was no high-speed internet for these over 400 businesses. And so, very proud of the work that we did there. We also held a number of fashion shows to promote the businesses and arts and cultural events. It's a very immigrant dominant community, and it's very vibrant because of that. A lot of people from the Caribbean. And it's also, that's exactly in that neighborhood is where we had the launch of the Guyana's 50th anniversary. And so even just last night, the Miss Universe send-off was in Jamaica. And so people are looking to Queens now. Brooklyn, is ready on the map. So, we have a little bit of healthy competition there. And, everybody has to fly through. So I encourage you to come and visit when you have a chance next time you're in New York.
So tell me about your role at the Queen's Bid. What legacy you left behind?
Well, I thank you for that question. I think that the way that people talk about Jamaica now, it's different. It used to be a place that people wanted to avoid, and now it's synonymous with growth and development and business opportunities. And so that is one thing I'm very proud of. And second, I think that it's great that it's also being seen as a tourism attraction too, that we've really focused on the uniqueness of the goods of the small businesses and the artisans and all the great actors and musicians that come out of the neighborhood. There's really something maybe in the water there that makes creative people. I'm glad that we've also been able to revive that downtown sort of hip and arts and culture experience. I was able to put up a gallery for a number of months that really pulled together all the artists in the area to work together more. And so and I think we're also going to be having affordable housing for artists, especially for them. So I'm very, very proud of that. I'm hoping that we're one of the first places in New York City to be able to support our artists. And of course, from a technological perspective, in order for the community to stay ahead of the global competitiveness that's our economy today, I'm really glad that we're finally getting the digital divide closed, and that we could, be able to move forward with other communities that are taking advantage of technology.
Great. Also, I saw you did a few more other projects in Queens. Tell us about those projects.
Yes, I think I may have mentioned that Positive Women United, we recently formed this nonprofit that is really about bringing women together around a variety of issues. And the organization was launched during Women's History Month. And we're looking forward to continuing to build the momentum. We're taking the events all over New York City. Who knows, we might even be able to have an event in Guyana at some point too.
Sure, that would be great.
Yeah. And very proud of that. And I also mentioned that last Sunday we launched Guyanese Girls Rock. You can go to the Facebook page and see how you might be interested in getting involved, because this was an organization that Cloyette Harris founded several years ago online, virtually, and now we're actually taking it to the pavement, and we're going to be mentoring and having award ceremonies for the scholars that graduate from Guyanese Girls Rock mentoring program.
Great. What is in the future for Rondo?
Well, I love to continue to have an impact in communities in the neighborhood. I really would like to continue to work with, especially with the Guyanese community, on organizing, so for the betterment of all of us, and that we could work more efficiently together, not only here, but then also working together on projects that we can support at home.
Let's take a break.
Next Gen Car Rentals. For reliable, clean, fuel-efficient and well-maintained cars, choose Next Gen Car Rentals. Telephone 231-8963 or like us on Facebook. Next Gen Car Rentals, taking you to the next level.
GBETV. Yes, sir!
Welcome back to the Sharmin Prince Show, and I'm your host, Sharmin Prince. I'm here with my guest, Rhonda Binder. Now, Rhonda, let me ask you the $1 million question. Because the first time I met you and I saw you, I saw how calm you were. And I'm like, okay. And then I've been watching you every time I see you, and it's the same smile, the same demeanor. And I'm like, this can't be real. But where have you been like that all your life? Just calm.
Yeah, I think it's partially a function of growing up very shy, and believe it or not, I can't stop talking now. but I had a lot of big personalities in my household, and really didn't start finding a voice until when I was in my late teens and 20s. And so, because I've been a very observant person as growing up as a child, I still have that quality. I think that I like to just sort of take it in, but I also have to say that I think just having the faith in God that things all will work out in His favor, that keeps me grounded, to have that knowing, and that there is sense. Something's going to make sense around all of the things that are happening around me, and that time will tell.
And that caused you to have that. There is a sense of, when you speak to you get a very tranquil vibe. You have a tranquil energy that is not observed a lot. People don't have that. So today, while I'm preparing for the show, I'm like, is it something she cultivated over time, or is it something innate that maybe you tap into and you strengthen? I don't know. I've seen, and I've been through so many struggles, and I've seen so many different things, that at this point there's not that many things that really surprise me anymore. And I think that maybe that's a good thing. Growing up was very tough. There lots of issues. Family, safety, domestic violence, all sorts of things happening all around me all the time. After I think that you learn how to prioritize. Sort of where to expend your energy, and that that some things are a big deal. Working at the State Department, there's all sorts of things happening around the world. Certain things that deserve to have something like the hurricane, attention and your energy and your emotion behind. And then you learn that others can are just kind of just go with the flow. And so I like to just ride with the waves, and hopefully when things are riding or going in a good direction, I can ride with that wave. Sometimes you have to just kind of accept what happens when things are not, going as well either. But I really think it's probably because of this experience and seeing so many different things, good and bad, that after a time you're not as affected by it anymore, and that there are bigger problems in the world than yours. I don't know how you do it. And I think you need to really hone in on that, and it can be something that you can teach women to do.
I'm glad you brought it up, because a couple people have told me this recently, that I have a calming effect on them, and I'm not sure exactly what that means yet, but I would love to explore that more.
I really think you should, because I think it's a gift, because you meet women and they might have that. That's why I said I've been observing you, because you may meet them and you see that, but later on you're like, oh no, that was just a mask, right? But yours is not a mask, and I really wanted to highlight that, and I hope that you can figure what it is that drove you, that have you in such a calm space and a tranquil space, that you can teach some of us how to get there, because it is a need in our circle. So think about it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. While reading your bio, but before I go there with your fashion and your love for fashion, you have held a lot of high profile positions. And I'm thinking, is it because of those positions that you develop this calmness? Or I'm going to rephrase my question. What kept you humble in those positions?
Well, I see myself just as anybody else, that I was able to, have certain opportunities, and I took advantage of certain opportunities and worked very hard. And I want to have the chance to, share that experience and open up opportunities for people in the next generation as well. But I don't really see myself as that much different than anyone else. I think in terms of having those high-level positions and different areas of business and government, there is always more men in the room normally, and so one of the reasons why probably I also seem a little bit more sometimes more reserved or calmer. I think I also had to train myself that way because I was afraid of being too emotional, and then being sort of like labeled as she's might not be able to handle this because the feminine characteristics, which I think is a little bit misled, because it's those characteristics and that intuition and creativity that we have that is really what's important in today's workforce, and even more so in the future, to be able to understand people and to be able to really feel and have that empathy, because the robots are going to be able to do a lot of what what a lot of people in the workforce do now, and those are the qualities that we need to develop more, because there's a higher premium on that. And so it's an evolving sort of thing in terms of how I hold myself and how people see me in the workforce and otherwise, but I that's one area for myself that I'm actually looking to develop more.
Excellent, and I think you'll do well, because you're good at what you do, and for you to remain this humble, and you kind of, it's just that's what I get. It's just some high profile positions, but those were positions that a lot of women wish that they had, and you did it, and you're still humble, extremely humble, and what it is.
Well, I was so happy to be able to be in those positions that a lot of times it didn't feel like work. So, the uniqueness of being able to work in the West Wing, or to be able to travel for, your government and represent in international sort of arenas and have those kinds of leadership positions, in itself is a gift. So I felt that I was lucky, in a way, to be there as well, and I want to do more. So I think those things are great, but I really even want to have more of an impact, and to be able to work with others to solve even more of our issues, our problems, from economic development to rebuilding, and to building more connected communities, whether it's among women or among just a neighborhood itself or a city itself, to be stronger. And so I'm very passionate about that type of development, and I think it's just still the beginning. So maybe that's why.
Now, Rhonda, what do you want to leave with our viewers? And this would not be your only time on this show.
Well, I'd like to say to keep shining bright. Guyana is going through a major transformation right now. It's such an exciting time. A lot of eyes are on the country, and you know, we're here cheering you on and supporting. And that, you know, like we said earlier, anything that I've done, I'm very proud, but it's just with hard work. And I would say, you know, be a leader where you are, use your network where you are, and you never know how far you can go.
Well, thank you, Rhonda. Thank you for being on the Sharmin Prince Show. And we'll be seeing you shortly. Let's take a break.
GBETV. Yes, sir!
Next Gen Car Rentals. For reliable, clean, fuel-efficient and well-maintained cars, choose Next Gen Car Rentals. Telephone 231-8963 or like us on Facebook. Next Gen Car Rentals, taking you to the next level. Next Gen Car Rentals. For reliable, clean, fuel-efficient and well-maintained cars, choose Next Gen Car Rentals. Telephone 231-8963 or like us on Facebook. Next Gen Car Rentals, taking you to the next level.
GBETV. Yes, sir!
Welcome back to the Sharmin Prince Show on GBETV, where we know that progress is a must. And I'm your host, Sharmin Prince. You just met my guest, attorney Rhonda Binder, and you see that what I said in the beginning, that she has a vision. She has a vision for the diaspora, she has a vision for the Caribbean, and definitely Guyana. And she's doing a lot here in the US. Just a reminder that we have the raffle for the television, a smart television, forgive me. And all you need to do is send your name and your phone number to GBETVinfo@gmail.com. Again, the email address is GBETVinfo@gmail.com. Your name and your telephone number. That's all. The raffle will be drawn on Christmas Day on the show, and the winner might be able to have that television in their home for Christmas. On behalf of the Sharmin Prince Show and GBETV, we'd like to thank you for your continued support, and remember to tell a friend about the Sharmin Prince Show. Invite someone, because, you know, don't keep this information to yourself. And be sure to tune in next week. Next week you will get a lot of information, and some transformation can take place. So thank you and good night.